Okay, hey, this is Dr. Casorla, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this week's lesson. First of all, you have to understand that we're going to be talking about literature, and this is Foundations of Western Literature, so specifically literature that affected the culture of Western society. One of the biggest influences, of course, is the Hebrew Bible, and the story of Joseph is the story that we are going to be studying this week. Now, I wanted you to think about literature like a chair. Okay, so if there's a chair and it's sitting there, even better, let's talk about a cup. Hold on. Okay, I got a cup. Do you see my cup? All right. Let's say I ask someone if they can see the front of this cup. And you say, yeah, I can see the front of the cup. Okay, can you see the handle? Yeah. Can you see the bottom? No, probably not. Can you see inside of it? No, you don't know whether I have coffee in here or not. Now, I can look inside of it and tell I have a different perspective than you. You have a certain perspective coming from where you are and who you are, and I have a certain perspective coming from who I am and where I am. So you have to understand that interpretation of literature is a little bit like this. You have to really own who you are and where you are and what your perspective is. So your interpretation of the literature depends on your experience, your background, your culture, your language, where you're sitting right now. And as you change, as you grow, as you evolve through your life, you will have different perspectives on the same thing. Now, that's very important for understanding and interpreting something from your own perspective. It's also very important to understand and interpret something from the perspective of other people. So you can ask other people, so what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? And they can all give you a perspective of what they see. This all helps with your interpretation. So interpretation has a lot to do with empathy as well. We have to communicate and empathize with those who might see something in a different way. But if you base your interpretation upon the text itself, then you will always be correct as far as your particular perspective. All right, does that help? All right. So when you think about Yosef, I want you, Joseph in Hebrew, and as you can probably tell, I'm Jewish. So, married to a rabbi, 8 children, all boys. So when you consider the story of Joseph, which is also the story that you'll see in the Prince of Egypt, if you've ever watched the Disney show, and you've seen probably 1,000 representations of Joseph's story. When you take a look at it, you have to understand the cultural perspective, the concept of God, the idea of prophecy, the understanding of what was going on in Egypt. It would be helpful to know that before this time, the Jews were in what was known as the land of Canaan, which later became Israel, okay, and they established themselves there. And what happened was Joseph was hated by his brothers, of course, and sent to Egypt. Now, a giant famine came across the land. And during that time, his family was suffering very deeply. So all of this works itself into the story. So I hope you enjoy it this week. Make sure you let me know if you have any questions. Take care.